few nights earlier, Ollie and some of his friends slept over. Well, friends. They always treated him like crap, yelling at him over the smallest things, calling him that other F word, or constantly beating him with the, "Hey, it was an accident," excuse. Satoru Kitano, he was the worst. Since he and Oliver were kids, Toru would always bully him, and Ollie just took it. I never got why. He was bigger than me. He could take that chameleon. Right? Oh, right, Ollie liked him. For what reason, I'll never know. All Oliver ever mentioned was that he was handsome and really got him, whatever that meant. For some reason, Satoru wanted to go exploring this abandoned theme park for some photos. Ollie and I weren't allowed to leave Dover without Mama or Papa. Maybe Tio Pedro if he wasn't drunk that day. But he really wanted Toru's approval. So, trying to be a good little brother, I decided to come along.
What's with the shrimp?
Hey, I could bite your legs off if I wanted. Quiet, you. Sorry, Toru. Ruth kinda invited himself.
Whatever.
We leaped into some shrubs by the path, making sure not to get spotted. As for Toru, he stayed in the parking lot. Said he forgot some lenses. Like I believe that, after where we wound up. It was pretty dark out there. The only lights were the ones set up for the guards to patrol the area. Ollie and I did have flashlights, but they're only a good idea for a closed area, without people keeping watch. Sometimes I'd pop my head out of a bush, phone camera in hand, to snap some photos. Turning off the flash actually got me some cool, creepy photos. A lot of ceramic statues of clowns, presidents, or this one I really liked. It looked like a bootleg Warren Dover holding a bootleg Socrates Shiva's hand. Someone had high hopes for this place. I could see Oliver doing the same, but only being able to take photos around the lights since he couldn't turn his flash off. He really didn't seem to be enjoying himself. Hey, Ollie?
Yeah?
Why do you still let Toru push you around? Oh, here we go again. Look, he's not messing with me. He's not pushing me around. He's just being real with me, okay? Then why are you so upset? Why did we come here if you hate it so much? Well, I have to, okay?
What's going on over there?
Shit. At that point, we noticed we were standing up, clearly on sight, and a guard just caught us. I snapped out of my train of thought pretty quickly. Next to me was my buddy Holden. It's funny. See, I was kind of popular in school, had friends in pretty much every group. But Holden? I was always closest to him, even though we never went to the same school. He was always a bit on the quiet side. Unless he trusted you, he was basically mute, and forcing an answer out of him would just have him stumbling on words. Took a bit for me to get used to, but after a month or so, he'd be going on for hours on his writing projects. It always made him so happy. But at that moment, he was quiet as a marmoset, not wanting to say a word. I didn't really get why until I remembered. His dad was right there in the lobby, pacing around and looking for a way out. Knew I'd have to whisper if I wanted to get to the bottom of this. I leaned over to him.
Hey, Holden, you alright? The way you texted me earlier, it sounded like something happened. Again. Huh? Oh, well,
He turned over to Wade, who stared daggers back at Holden. The little guy clasped his mouth in his hands.
That bad. Got it.
Holden never really talked about what happened at home. If I asked in person, he'd always freeze, and if I texted him, he'd go silent for minutes. It was frustrating because we all knew something was going on behind the scenes. This crap always made me feel hopeless. And with a sigh, I leaned my head back against the wall. Felt weirdly hollow, almost like sheet metal or cardboard. I didn't expect the metal grate of a nearby vent to pop off.
Goddamn contractors. Don't worry, you two, it was just a vent. Right. Hold on a sec.
I immediately got the brilliant idea to crawl up the venting system to try and find my dad's office. Seemed simple enough, I thought to myself. That's when I looked at Holden again, huddled up into himself, seeming all down, so I made an offer.
Wanna hit the vents with me? No, that sounds dumb, Ruth. Come on. You're telling me you want to be stuck in a room with Wade? Do you even know the layout? Where would you go anyway? I might have learned a thing or two from Bring Your Son to Work Day. Okay, look. If we can do this without getting his attention, I'm in. Way ahead of you, my dapper friend.
I then reached into my backpack for a little something. Always had a few pranks stored in case I didn't really like a teacher. So now was as good a time as any. After some fiddling, I managed to pull a noisemaker out. It was pretty cheap, so I didn't mind throwing it away like this. First, I waited for Wade to walk around the door nexus, so that way he wouldn't see us. Then, I got up, revved my arm up, and with all my strength tossed that little gadget at the wall behind Wade, making sure to immediately sit back down. Just as I hoped, the button landed right against the wall, letting out this old-timey music. Dunno, something about a crew at midnight? Anyway, Wade hurried over to look for the source of the sound, back turned to the entrance, giving us our chance. I beckoned Holden over to help me stack the stools. Once we got them, we climbed on over to the vent, and were gone. Last thing I saw was Wade turning back, scratching the back of his head.
You know what? Screw it. Hey, Holden, I think it's time we... What? Where'd they... Oh, fuck! They took the vents, didn't they? Crap. Ruth must have taken him along. That boy don't know what he's getting himself into.
No idea how much time passed. Maybe a minute? A few minutes? Just Holden and me crawling down the vents. Every now and then I'd knock on a grate thinking I'd sensed my dad. There were never any responses, other than growling in one, but I decided it was just a scientist sleeping. Though, for some reason, Holden froze up a little before I got moving again. Still not entirely sure why, but I get the feeling he might have known him.
So, are you sure you know where you're going? Of course I do. Come on, Holden, when am I ever wrong? Bring Your Son to Work Day? I was worried you'd say that. Shows how bad your rhetorical questions are. Right. Look, Ruth, I know you're trying to help and all, but we should really go back.
I felt pretty annoyed at that. I couldn't fathom why Holden wouldn't want me intervening, getting him as far away from Wade as possible. He's my best friend, I need to help, I'd always think. Anytime we hung out, he hated going back home, and Mama knew it. Fact is, we couldn't do anything. Not without proof, anyway. In hindsight, we couldn't even imagine what the poor kid was thinking, feeling trapped in that house. At these thoughts, I stopped crawling, turned myself around, took a few in that cramped place, and looked Holden in the eyes.
Tell me what's going on, Holden. What? Look, we're all alone. He can't hear us. Dunno if he's anywhere close by. You can be honest. What is he doing? Why bother? Telling you won't get me out of there. And if it gets worse, I'll just be stuck with him while someone knows, but can't do crap about it. Why are you letting Wade push you around? Just drop it, okay? Dude, talk to me. You know you can trust me. Don't you hate him? Look, I can't. I don't even know what's... What was that? No, it can't be here too.
Something could be heard in the distance. That loud, raspy, unbearable voice echoing across the vents. It mockingly hummed, growing in volume as it drew nearer. I tried to move until I realized I couldn't. Holden and I were frozen in place, unable to move a single muscle. If anything, it was like our muscles tightened and contracted within themselves. Every attempt to move them felt like the strands exploding. So all we could really do was stare in front of us. That's when I saw a hand come from one of the diverging paths. It clung to the wall of the vent, but in the dark, I could barely make out what it was. The hand was shrouded in darkness, and the head that inched from behind it, a total silhouette, blending into the background like a chameleon. Of that shape, however, I could make out something. It didn't even resemble an Evo. It had this large, bulbous head. It almost looked like an ape's, but the face was completely flat. Its arms were long and gangly, with slender fingers that resembled twigs. Peering at us were those glowing yellow eyes. No iris, just pupils. The eyeballs had something in front of each of them, like little strands that made them look split in three.
I don't know where these things came from, but my dad, he called them gorgons. Gorgons? They're monsters.
The creature then grabbed around the walls surrounding us, staring daggers at me specifically.
That Wade created.
It crawled toward us. The space was so narrow, I doubt we had more than a few seconds until it reached us, especially while we were paralyzed. Just then, in my struggle to move, I finally felt it. My neck, at least. All motor function returned to it. I tried to fling my head to the side, giving it my all to hit it with my horns. God willing, they would have opened a hole for us to break out of. It wound up making this deafening clanging sound, and with it, my horn was sticking out the other side. As I could feel the rest of my motor functions coming back, I started inching my way down the sheet of metal. In the adrenaline rush, I didn't even notice the pain of my horn being pulled on. The blood in my arms ran cold. As the circulation finally returned, I was able to grab onto the opening and rip it open.
Holden, quick! Crawl out! Ah! What?
The damn thing grabbed my leg, squeezing on it tightly. It was the worst feeling, like having your leg numb and unusable, but the nerves still working. All I could do was thrash around, begging Holden to keep going without me.
Wait, just go before this thing gets bored of me!
I could see Holden's lips quivering, his fists clenching, and him looking down in defeat as he crawled out the vent. This distraction was short-lived, as right then and there, my thoughts were jolted back to the creature grabbing me. The throbbing pain in my knee jerked my head down, and when I finally looked, the leg was completely dislocated. This thing, Gorgon, had just twisted and broken my leg. I remember screaming like a fucking banshee. It only got worse as it grabbed my other leg with its free hand, and as I tried to kick my way out of its grasp, It shoved my forelegs to the sides, causing my left femur to stick out at the knee. Blood trickled and spurted out, and all I could do was bang to the sides, screaming every swear I could think of. Tears were flowing down my cheeks from the shocks of the pain coursing through me. Any and all energy was draining from me as the gorgon kept playing with my broken leg, getting some sick pleasure from slowly powdering the crushed bones. As the gorgon opened its gaping maw, it was clear that the thing was just playing with its food and was now ready to dig in. I thought this was gonna be it, until I heard some loud banging from outside. Thunderous, low in tone, clanging right up to the gorgon's ear. The thing completely halted and eased its grip on me, dropping my legs to the floor. The pressure on my knees still hurt, but I didn't care. I was free. Using my arms, I didn't hesitate and crawled over to my makeshift grate, all while the banging continued. Finally, after seconds that felt like hours, I was out. It was another dark hallway, but emergency power was on. The place was coated in a red hue from the emergency lights. Around us were just some doors, probably to employees' offices. They looked locked though, so I didn't have time to calm down. That's when I looked at where the banging sound came from. I turned slowly, full of apprehension, and just saw Holden, relentlessly kicking that part of the wall. It wasn't until he sensed me staring that he stopped. Once he turned to me, Holden started panicking again.
Oh my God, Ruth! Are you... holding up? Barely. Fuck, my leg hurts. Christ, we need to get you some help. Look, think I'll be fine for a bit. What do you do back there? Right, well, you saw too, right? The walls are super hollow, pretty much the same sheet metal as the vents, except maybe a bit sturdier. And when we made noise in the vents, the gorgon slowed itself down. I just thought I could stall it for you to escape, but... oh God!
He covered his mouth, tearing up again. I did my best to sit up with my one good leg to help. Tried reaching for his palm to give a head pat, before remembering something he told me on Chaos.
Transcript from January 12th, 2019.
Hey, just a heads up. Yeah? I don't like getting grabbed or touched or anything. Especially the head. Doesn't make me freak out like people think, but it really bugs me. Oh. Okay. So no high five? No, but I could do a fist bump. Ah, nice. We can be bros then. Thanks.
End of transcript.
I shakily raised my arm for a fist bump, giving Holden a warm smile. He stared at me for a moment, probably confused at why I was so calm, before returning the bump. He smiled at me with those eyes still tearing up, but he seemed calmer now. That was when I noticed my opening on the vents, and the walls, oddly enough, the gorgon's hand reaching around it, showing its head in the hole. I couldn't see much from the shade inside, but with the lights, I caught a glimpse of a large, unnatural, toothy grin with rotting teeth showing. They chattered. Once again, we were paralyzed. Our muscles strained, the banshee song ringing in our ears. We were helpless as the gorgon started slowly pulling the hole apart like wrapping paper. I now knew that the noise from the metal was slowing it down, but we were left immobile. Who knows if we would have had a chance. At that moment, it popped its long worm-like torso out of the vents, arms planted on all fours positioned like an insect. I could finally get a clear look at this abomination. It was covered in skin, pale, wrinkled, veiny skin. It looked painfully stretched around its body, as if forced into resembling a different creature. I could tell now that the slits dividing its eyes were tiny strips of flesh. Surrounding the eyes were these deep scars extending across the face, dividing the skin into patches crudely glued together. The way it moved, I still can't get over it. It almost seemed to lag. Every movement it made looked like it was skipping 5 frames of animation. But at the same time, the way it grabbed and hassled me before didn't feel this janky, so I have to assume that was just how its movement looked. And it was this thing that was inching its way toward us, before it grabbed Holden's tail. It squeezed hard enough for Holden to start screaming in spite of his paralysis.
Let him go!
Feeling every inch of my body implode, I tried moving my arm. Little by little, pushing it behind me, trying to reach into my backpack. Out of a mix of desperation and frustration, I banged my head back against the wall, hard. The enormous tonk sound echoed so much, I could see the gorgon's head vibrating. I then saw its frame rate shift, not letting go of Holden this time, but now its movement was slower, skipping fewer frames. Able to use my arms at last a little again, I hurriedly shuffled through my backpack, looking for something that might help. Found two things, a box cutter knife and a bag of stink bombs. No idea if this would work, but it was worth a shot. With my only good leg, I painstakingly pushed myself up, back still against the wall, knife in one hand, bag of bombs in the other.
Holden. While this bastard's in slow-mo, I need you to take these bombs and smack it in the face with them. I don't know if I can... Holden, please. I can't run over there and give a closer hit. You gotta be my middleman. You really trust me? With my life, bro.
He reached his hand up, waiting to grab it.
Right. Leave it to me.
Revving his arm as much as he could in the position, Ruth tossed me the bag. It was enough for me to catch it, but I clutched the wrong fold, causing a few bombs to drop off. I scrambled around to stop the bombs from falling out, but I couldn't, with a miasma now filling the room. Even so, I spun as much as I could in the gorgon's grip, still dangling by my tail before finally... The remaining bombs and the plastic in the bag broke to pieces on the gorgon's face. Its nose wrinkled, its eyes turned red and dry, and it went back to skipping frames. However, in surprise, the gorgon let go of my tail and collapsed on the ground, grabbing its face, writhing in pain.
It was sickening even back then, looking at this abomination cower after what it did to me, and what it planned to do to Holden. Luckily, its face landed pretty near me. I limped over, knife at the ready. Gripping the handle with all my strength, another fist clenched just in case, I quickly slashed its face, blood sprinkling out. I slashed again, more blood spurted. Again and again and again. I went back and forth, side to side, letting out all my anger, cutting and tearing at that ugly mug.
Go to hell!
One last strike. I stabbed it directly on the forehead. The gorgon's face twisted around my arm, against my scales. It was like punching into a rubber mask, with it contorting more and more until the knife hit something, followed by a cracking noise from inside. 1 second passed of silence. 2 seconds passed of silence. 3 seconds passed. Then the head exploded! A splash of gore coated my upper body, adorned the walls, and stained my knife. It was over. The gorgon was dead. Giving in to my broken knee, I started falling back before Holden caught me. Still not quite over all this, I still had my knife in hand.
Easy there. Thanks, man. Come on. One of these offices should have something. For a broken leg? Yeah.
I held onto Holden's shoulder as he helped me walk down the hallway, carrying my backpack for me. He didn't have to, and in fact, I insisted on doing it. But no, the kid was stubborn.
Guessing there's more of that thing around here? Yeah. It's why I kept wanting us to go back. I'm sorry. Don't be. If you told me this place had a bunch of zombies crawling around, I wouldn't have believed you. Oh. Anything else I should know about these gorgon things? Yeah, but let's get your leg taken care of first.
I nodded and kept limping, trying to keep up with Holden. He was shorter than me, but didn't struggle much with my weight. Pretty impressive looking back. As the adrenaline finally petered out, my nostrils cleared, and I was finally able to smell not only this bizarre ventilation, but the scent left behind from the stink bombs. It was absolutely rancid. Leaving the hallway, I only had one thing to say.
I feel sick.
Thank you for listening to the second episode of ZodiA WavE. Ruth Brown was played by Steena Carey. Holden Ryan was played by C.S.R. Creations. Wade Ryan was played by Daniel Smith. The gorgon Kitsu was voiced by Joshua Pedder. This episode was written, directed, edited, and scored by Chris Saavedra. Assuming you liked what you heard, please consider commenting or voting for any input and feedback. You can also follow SLZ Rain on Twitter, ZodiA WavE on Neurons, or Studio Laser Rain on Bandcamp for updates on future episodes. All links are in the description. Finally, you can join us on Patreon for early episode releases, early looks at cover art, and other exclusive Studio Laser Rain related rewards. We will see you again soon for the next episode, this time following WavE's surge. So we say, enjoy the show.